is what we call the land of the people. It is the traditional territory of our people, known as the Cree of Eastern James Bay, Quebec. Since time immemorial, the lands and waters of EUSG have enabled us to flourish. Fishing has always been an important part of the Cree way of life and still remains a strong part of Cree culture and activities. Many traditional sites and social cultural gatherings throughout EUSG revolve around fisheries resources.
The fish itself was an important Cree way of life, and especially a very important food source in order for the Cree to survive. We got to remember years ago, our communities were unemployed. Unemployment is still high in the Cree communities. So it was the fish that kept them alive. So we must never forget the importance of fishing as part of the Cree survival, Cree way of life, and Cree culture.
However, the land is changing, and our people are evolving. Pressures on the land are accumulating as accessibility and development continue to grow in the face of a changing climate.
We are a growing community. We're 4,000 people here, and it's growing very fast. Many years ago, people didn't have the type of boats we have now. It only takes 2 hours to get to the north end of this lake. It's 110 miles long, and you're right at the spot fishing, or you can be right at the spawning bed. And that's something that we really have to be very, very careful and understand about. We need to protect those areas. Conservation is written in the North American Agreement as an issue. If the government feels that we're not necessarily following that, they could step in. And it's really up to us. We take those steps, we take those measures, we make those decisions.
Сега тук чуенчко, нази ягод нагастални жидани шутнако утштигач кажгоё. Мочвенаю кяню тенстбеши гашчиган тушчигида. Нибдешка дабстани утчи. Ке нибдежи тимчгоё. Мимшти утчай. Утчмнахобегжгоё амвач немеш. Магем шайжгоё. Маг немешка ябс. Ай маг пешо. Нибдежи тишутнемуэн. Эгунтишка давака ачус сдетяно жиш. Ведачим чеднано. Without pedagno chugo achu di snako ngide mochimia muhe nimesho na do chugo chance kan gishade ego na shwege be konji shitawnas.
For the past decade or so, there have been a growing number of fishing derbies in EUSG. The Cree communities have gained positive benefits from these events by appealing to tourism and by building community and inter-community relationships.
As Mississippi been known very well as kind of like a paradise for fishermen. So we had a lot of people that come up here, and they've been coming here for years, right, in this city for fishing.
J20 swaptums. I nega tijut sabijmin. Egot emamuito is naxdoga. And jiga we jogging the dad dog, to go to dog. I go mamu to go to dog. Have a pound there dog. I would that dog there. The beach of what go you. Jamie tagging the donuts. To what channel music tagging again. I get you get the message no magnet. Mio that way. I'm not saying again the mess. In honest, it's good steak. Than this sweet magik. Jijitik. Mio and no home can you.
However, concerns have been raised in regards to potential negative impacts on aquatic ecosystems and traditional practices. In 2017, the Cree Nation government recorded over 25 fishing derbies in EUSG, where some can attract more than 300 participants.
The elders are concerned about the fishing derbies, and that we're going to try to find a way how to manage the fishing derbies. We must not forget the elders are not against fishing derby. It's the way we do fishing derby, it's the way we manage fishing derbies.
We need to keep a balance. If we're going to introduce sports fishing derbies or sports activities for our people here, I think it's important that we should also keep in mind that it has environmental impacts.
The focus of the derby is to target the absolute largest individuals within a population of fish. This is a potential concern for a host of reasons. First, if there's mortality of those individuals during the derby event or subsequent to the release of that individual fish after the derby, if enough of these individuals are dying, either directly or indirectly from the derby activity, this can pose a potential negative impact on the fish population's sustainability. We also have to recognize that trophy fish are the oldest fish within their populations, and they take a long time to grow, particularly within northern regions. So in northern Quebec, for example, a large trophy walleye will commonly take between 12 to 20 years to attain that size. Commonly larger individuals within fish populations are more successful breeders. They contribute more to subsequent generations of the fish population itself.
In light of these concerns, how can we improve the management of fishing derbies to ensure their sustainability?
People who are involved in fishing derbies, organizing derbies, were told 2 years ago at the Cree Nation Annual General Assembly in Chesapeake to try to have a manageable fishing derbies, to set some rules for fishing derbies, and to try not to have a large number of fishing derbies, but manage it the way that we have less fishing derbies, so each community who wants to participate can participate.
We have to understand that you have leadership, you have a chief and council, and the authorization has to come from there. Really, it has to be done that way. We can't really have an open type of a process where a group can decide. It has to have that process. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control.
So that's one thing we should try to compile this information, so we'll know exactly what is the fish harvest for each year. So we'll be able to manage the fish harvest based on these different activities.
I think one of the most important things is to ensure really good welfare and health of the fish themselves. And that requires rules and recommendations associated with keeping fish in the water as much as possible. It requires that live wells are maintained effectively at the thermal regime that is conducive for survival and normal, regular activities for each of the different fish species that are being targeted. It ideally would minimize the time that the fish are left in these live wells before they are weighed. And it would also keep at a very low minimum the amount of time that a fish is put out of water when it's weighed at a weigh station. I think it's also important to consult local community members, particularly in the north, to understand before a derby takes place what their overall concerns are for the fish. Certainly a lot of local people and particularly the elders who are very experienced and know the fish within their specific geographic region. They have a very good understanding of how fish populations are doing, and they have a good understanding of what kinds of other potential impacts activities like fishing derbies might pose to those fish populations.
Catch and release practices, which consist of returning the fish to its habitat in conditions suitable for its survival, can help mitigate fishing derbies' impacts on the fish population. However, catch and release have to be done properly in order to ensure the survival of the fish. Here are some catch and release best practices.
Usakya ai but snagnon mes huai da sanat in panel them sister na de ma aga yago ga to dognon mes to go dagnot what's I this guy daten can mes we bitsnet I did queen beauty to see I can't get Magwent and Miss Jam stem your the dog not which was with that down the heights. The guys, that's a second it. My guys, what she took the didn't when they so to dog no again, Miss 아차 카기노인데 해도 도그노 그때 세기나 뭐든 그나 있지 뭐야 해 자먹는 높은 데면서 하게 막인데 우대 스톤 피스 하게 되면 나스고 같은데 하게 맨 플라이어스 게 무슨 뭐야 요 막도 뭐 지금 이게 됐어 뭐래가 스테이지 이게 나이 해 해야 붙다야 하게 왜 지위가 가면 만에 어찌
I prefer the single hook. There's some hooks that are doubled, and there's some hooks that are tripled. So for me, I would recommend the single type of hook to use on fishing derbies. That's more easier to take off without hurting the fish. If the fish is caught on two hooks, either you tear one off when you try to take it off. For sure you're going to hurt the fish. And try to put the fish slowly in the water and right away. Don't take it out of the water too long, because the fish doesn't survive out of the water too long.
You want to have a rod that is strong enough to be able to bring in a fish. You don't want to have to fight the fish too long. The longer we fight a fish on the line, the more likely that fish gets tired, which means it's less likely to regain its strength and energy and survive once we release it. You can also enforce something like barbless hooks only. If hooks are barbless, single barbless hook is very easy to detach the fish. This might not necessarily be desirable for some fishers though. Occasionally, fish will be more likely to get off the hook if it's barbless, but my general experience has been that when people know how to fish, as long as they're keeping tension on the line, they will have the same success rate with a barbless hook. I think banning live bait is something else that would be useful. Fish that eat live bait, whether it's a live minnow, worm, frog, etc., are more likely to deep hook themselves. And so again, deep hooked fish take more time to have the hook removed from them, and it's more damaging for them. Rubber net is definitely something that a fish is less likely to get stuck in, and it will not remove as much of the mucus off the fish as well. Derby organizers should be responsible for at the beginning of the derby to ensure that each boat, the participants using that boat, that they have the proper live well equipment to be able to bring these fish in, that the aeration is working well, that the live well is sufficiently large to be able to temporarily hold these larger fish.
Fishing derbies can also contribute to the introduction and spreading of invasive species. These species are non-native plants or animals that are introduced in a new environment, which may spread to the extent of causing damage to the environment. They share common characteristics such as high reproductive rates and few natural predators, which make them difficult to control. They can have devastating impacts on the local biodiversity by competing with native species for common resources, degrading water quality and habitats, and introducing diseases. In long term, they can reduce fishery productivity and diversity.
We can also transmit diseases and bring in non-native species through, for example, unclean boats. There are many different organisms that can be transported within the water of live wells or bilge pumps. And this can be a major problem of fishing derbies because people are moving around with their boats to different geographic areas and transporting water in between them.
Well, I'm glad that there is a process. The boats that are coming in, they're washing them down. I'm hoping also, like as people come in from outside, that they're even checking the boats as they come from outside. That's, I think, is very important because it can really damage our resources. It's important is also not to bring other fish in here. I think that's important as well too.
It is important to respect the land by keeping the environment clean. To protect our environment for future generations, it is essential to respect the land by leaving no trace and keeping the environment clean.
So we know you're going to attack go if the domestic going to have then is not coming out of the nature to do in your watch a dog. That's what children's man does. We got some sound now to what chance. We got some sound. Sang and it bewegt den beautykanter to what Michigan stand. Knielske snaska pio what you magwen the nation. You get snigger tech, my snigger, my washing one do Dutch. Nu schiedsman je die ja. Betudado ga danish to me go national dem udika taunji to daigo.
Through many generations, our people acquired a wealth of knowledge and understood the very essence of living in balance with the land. Nothing was wasted. All was shared, and people harvested only what they needed to survive. These are the fundamental principles for showing respect for what the land provided.
Fishing is part of the component of Cree way of life. We encourage young people to enjoy fishing, to go out in the lake, to be with the nature. And
If we want to keep our culture strong, then we should still continue giving that respect to the environment, just to keep on our culture going. And I feel like respecting the environment is one of the biggest and part of our culture.